All right, so thank you very much for joining for the second celebration of our birthday, a second anniversary. I am still in Lisbon right now, following the Sub-Zero conference that finished yesterday. Currently, I'm sitting in the office of Sovereign Nature Initiative. By the way, they have a really cool office, and they were really cute because they actually surprised me with a cake with 2 candles on it. So yeah, they were thinking about us and wished us happy birthday as well. So as for our birthday, I think it's really important to sometimes remember what is Moonsama and what is the vision of Moonsama. What are we building, why are we building it, who we are, and sometimes do bigger check-ins with you guys, giving you an overview of what's going on and how things are going. Especially lately, you might have heard or seen changes, and it's also important to address them and give an update for those who might not follow what's going on a day-to-day basis. As you might be aware, every week we have a team call where you can hear weekly updates from us and get to ask questions. But from time to time, it's important to hear more of an overview of what was going on, what happened in the past 2 years, and what you can look forward to and expect from us. So this will be today's agenda, and I prepared 50 slides. So I really hope it will not be painstakingly long, but we have a lot of ground to cover. So I think it should be around an hour, maybe a little bit more. But it's our birthday, so we are not in a hurry. So I think, first of all, my title needs a little bit of clarification, and it is also connected to a topic that was discussed roughly 2 weeks ago. So I'm always presented in conferences or also team members presented as, with a title for Moonsama. So I'm the CEO of Moonsama. But I think it's just important to understand and distinguish that Moonsama is a DAO, and the DAO doesn't have C-level roles. So I'm actually not the CEO of Moonsama, but I'm the CEO of the core team of Moonsama, which is structured as a company, as a regular business, and that business have titles, they have C-level titles. So we also have Moonsama, who's the COO, or Nautilus CCO, or Sergio, who's the chief strategic officer. But as of a DAO, it doesn't have formal roles, with the exception of one, which is the role of the president, elected president, who is Donny. And that is also important because, as a DAO comprises of a lot of members, and it is really impractical sometimes to represent the DAO with all its members all the times. It's better to have sometimes representatives for efficiency. But, for simplicity, we say that I'm the CEO of Moonsama, or somebody is the CEO of Moonsama, but in reality, it's not meant for the DAO. Cool. So in the beginning of the life of Moonsama, we only had the DAO to only work as a DAO and as members of the DAO, because all the developments, all the software, infrastructure, services that we need to run, they exist outside of the blockchain, obviously. So you need to somehow pay for servers, you need to sign contracts, you want to hire people, work with talent. All your costs incur in fiat money outside in the real world. And as a DAO, you exist on the blockchain, and you don't have real world representation as a business or as an entity. And in the beginning, I was running everything from my bank account. Everything was connected to my name, and it became problematic personally for me doing all this while the whole organization was growing, which was actually a really good sign. So I was not sad about it, but that brought up the need of setting up something outside of the DAO who can represent us, the core team, and take over the operational arm of Moonsama as a whole organization. So that's how Moonsama Labs came to be. I find this name kind of funny and just went with it. And now all of the core team is structured under Moonsama Labs as contractors. And we have this client-contractor relationship between Moonsama Labs and the DAO. Recently, the service agreement was renewed between the two entities, which was also necessary to provide, a clarification of what things belong where, so we can continue to operate legitimately. And this structure that we have, we haven't reinvented the wheel here. You can see most of the Web3 projects being org, which either can be wrapped into a foundation or not, and it has simple undertaker entities that run the operations. And this is what we were following as well, following all the well-working recipes, talking about the NHWeb Foundation or NHWeb AG or Parity and Polkadot. You see this everywhere. Cool. So this is kind of what I summarized, but for the previous slides. So, you can see the distinction of differentiation of responsibilities. We as the core team, we don't own the treasury, the community funds, the token supplies themselves. We are responsible for development work, and we have other obligations for the DAO, for the whole community. You can say that we are the stewards of the ecosystem. This structure allows us to kind of protect our work. Core team, you can think of it as Web 2. Moonsama DAO is Web 3, and these two worlds are separated and work together. Cool. Okay, so benefits of this structure, just not to repeat myself too much. This way, all our work is protected, work of the core team is protected, because, without this structure, it would not be possible at all. Token holders actually didn't have any rights without defining legally of what is the IP, for example, or what are these rights. And of course, it needs a legal entity to do so. We briefly talked about this part before. We really like what Yuga Labs did with CryptoPunks. They made quite a huge, very thorough and descriptive license, which they did to provide token holders, like holders of NFTs, with certain rights that they have only if they own the certain NFT. Like if you hold a token, for example, you hold an Exosama or a certain Moonsama, you own the likeness of your NFT. You can derive also commercial value for yourself and derive all the utility belonging to that token, but only if you own the token for the blockchain. Yuga Labs cannot take away your tokens or change the ownership in any way or fiddle with the supply. And these rights are legally established for the token holders, and this is something that we would like to achieve too, giving even more utility or use for the current tokens. Doesn't matter if it's Gromlins, Exosamas, Moonsamas, but now once we establish like a similar thing as Yuga Labs did, you will enjoy similar benefits just by owning your tokens. This structure also allows to build institutional trust. We talked a lot that we would like to grow and build more partnerships, work with third parties, more institutions. And now obviously these institutions would need to need to know who they are exactly dealing with. And as a DAO, it's really difficult to do. You cannot sign contracts, and you're not belonging to any legal jurisdiction. So many big companies or brands, they think it's very sus, and then they just don't want to touch this. So we need to start establishing, building institutional trust with the outside world, and show that we are reliable, we are mature, and we can be partnered with and work with together. We're not just going to disappear overnight, and we keep our ends of the agreements. So Moonsama Labs, of course, it has limited capability of represent Moonsama DAO, so it cannot be used for everything, but in a way it provides some kind of proper representation to the real world. It provides a shelter, a stable environment for the core team members, because us core team members are people like you and me. So people would need to show some kind of proof of income. If they want to open a bank account, you need to show some proof of income. Some people have mortgages. The family members would like to get some job security. It's not everybody's situation is that exotic that they can just get airdrops every month. And of course, it allows us to de-risk the project, separate Web3 risk from Web2 risk, and it's again protection for our work. Cool. So I talked about how our team, or how Moonsama as an organization on a higher level is structured. Going down into the core team, currently we have 21 people working with us, roughly full-time in some capacity, and which amounts to around 30 number if you include part-timers as well. As the team, we don't really have clear departments. As in any startup, many people do multiple things at the same time, so not just do one thing. Also, our developers are all really talented, full stack developers, and they can work on literally anything, which is really important for a project like Moonsama. And working with people also tends to follow a Pareto distribution that usually in any large team, 20% of the people do actually 80% of the work, which was actually measured true for open source projects as well. And we try to build a team fully comprised of those 20% of the people. So really everybody in the team is a rock star, and I'm really happy to work with. So we try to keep the team as lean as possible, and not being as a large corporation that usually allows people with mid skills. So this is not our case. All right, so now we got a little bit of recap Moonsama as an organization, a little bit about the core team, and the next is we can move towards to talking about what is Moonsama, and what is the vision, what is our current strategy. Many of this information I think you have heard, but partially. I know that sometimes Donny was talking about it, sometimes I was mentioning certain details or some other team members, but I don't think it was ever really put together as a whole. So I found it kind of important to provide this clarity, especially on our birthday. And in the past few months, I actually put together a vision document for Moonsama, which is like 10 pages, I think, but it hasn't been published. But part of it I translated into this presentation, which you are seeing here right now. So what is Moonsama? Moonsama, we are robust. It's like the elephant in the dark room. Depends on what side you are approaching this dark elephant. You feel different things. But to try to dumb it down, it's a robust NFT utility platform, including blockchain solutions, metaverses, games, metaverse integration. We have a dynamic community and a large portfolio of NFT collections and Web3 applications. Right. What were helping us to get to the point where we are right now. So Moonsama, as you remember, it was a fun passion project. I mean, I started as such, and you can definitely identify a few key ingredients that helped to make us successful. So one is definitely that we are community-based and community-focused. We were quite innovative, not afraid to make bold moves. We built for traction, and we are agile. So it's again related to our boldness in certain way. We are not afraid to make moves and not afraid to adapt to a fast changing environment, which is also super competitive. 1 month in crypto is like 1 year in the real world. Plus, we have a shared set of values, and we try not to let people down. Right. So as Moonsama, we believe in a decentralized future where NFTs act as true elements of utility in the digital space, and they provide tangible value for their holders. And this tangible value and NFTs themselves are accessible for everyone. You don't need to be technical for this, and all of this is weaponized to foster communities, and fun and shared experiences. Now, of course, we approach this whole topic from the side of gaming, but we are not only limited to gaming applications or gaming use cases, but this is one very evident area where we can begin with. Right. So let's talk about strategy. So how do we get there? Like how do we approach this vision from the more technical point of view? Because it's very easy to talk about distant visions, but the devil is always in the details. The real difference is made by the application, the execution of your ideas. Right. So in the past 2 years, we experimented a lot, and in a lot of sense, we were building for ourselves, which was actually a completely necessary and important step. I will get back to this point later. But the point is that we as an ecosystem or community or project, no matter from what perspective you look at, needs to be able to grow and scale in order to achieve success and to bring real adoption forward. We don't want to be limited by the capabilities of the core team, and we don't want to gatekeep everything for ourselves. Because if we do so, we will just always be limited of what a few people can achieve. So the strategy is that instead of just using things for ourselves, we grow out to be a platform, which I'm going to explain how it's going to work out, and allow other communities, third parties to join us and build with us, so we can enable scale and growth together. So in a nutshell, we switching from building only for ourselves to building for everyone or with everyone. So how does it look like, or how the things connect together? Years we had a community, the Moonsama community. We've built a lot of protocols and tools that we used for our own utility, benefits, games. Obviously, all the fun stuff that we did. We needed to build all those tools and services that support it, and we realized that it could be opened up, and we could open it as a platform and involve others. We build a utility platform, and we can become a metaverse provider for other communities to build, which builds and supplies digital experiences, fun stuff. Can be games, can be metaverses, can be any kind of apps. They can be leveraged for everybody to build their own communities or projects, which again fosters their own communities, which are part of a larger community. You can look at us as the United Nations of Web3, which again, if the community is growing and the community is happy, then uses again the utility platform or further promotes it, develops it, which again can be used to build more experiences and content and fun, and again which builds community, and this is the circle of life that we are trying to bootstrap here. And I'm kind of gonna double click on these parts, reflecting on how we are doing it now and what exactly the components of this. So the other part of the strategy is being multi-chain. You know that we as Moonsama, we're supporting a lot of chains from the very beginning, and it turned out to be quite a good strategy because the crypto space is uncertain. You never know what's gonna happen with one ecosystem or the other, especially in a bear market when liquidity or money is always chasing the sexiest narrative. Also, you don't want to be dependent on one single entity or project, because they always first and foremost look out for themselves, and they have no problem making decisions or moves that might cross with your needs. So don't put all of your eggs in one basket. You should be flexible and build for long term. Fortunately, we are positioned in a very advantageous way, so we don't depend on one ecosystem only or the other, and we can set foot anywhere we want, which is great. So this is something that we want to keep doing and maintaining. Okay, so this is the part where kind of quickly recapping the past, then talking a lot about what's happening now and what you guys can expect. Right, so there are no straight lines in nature. As I said, Moonsama was not born as a traditional, as any other project or even company, because other companies, usually start with a lot of planning, business models or papers and a lot of talks and structure and so on, and then they start delivering. Now as I said, we were growing quite organically. So we always, we were born out of chaos and a lot of passion, which was actually great, because that made us successful in a way that we enjoyed working on the project, and we also enjoyed using the things that we built ourselves. So we always had that in mind, and if something is built with passion, you can really feel it, and this is how you can make things successful. I think it's true for all the movies or especially artistic content out there. You can really feel that the creator put his heart and soul into it. But as of such, the evolution of everything is not a straight line, and this is also true for Moonsama. So the evolution is always follows some kind of circular motion. I would call it a spiral. So there are periods, there are phases that are not circles, but there's a trajectory, but still it is cyclical. Right. So as of such, I try to map the life of Moonsama into this cyclical trajectories, cycles, which you find everywhere, literally. Like if you talk about the superpowers of the world, like in a historical context, there were always like a dominant cycle. Then there was some change, revolution. There came a new order that took over, and the next cycle began. Same true for Moonsama, or same true for any other company that starts and then grows. One cycle begins, then comes a new one, and it's usually it's a necessary change that is being brought, because as a company organization, you grow, you reach a level when things that were working before do not work as well anymore, and you need to renew yourself. You need to change strategies, reorganize to support that kind of growth or change that is coming to you. So I could identify 6 of these eras. We are currently in the 3rd one, or recently entered the 3rd one, and then moving slowly ahead to the future. Now these eras are not divided by time. I would say there are certain conditions that need to be met in order to go from one era to the other. So it's possible that one era will be super long, another era will be smaller, but yeah, it always depends on conditions and not time itself. So to begin with the first era, the genesis of Moonsama, which happened exactly 2 years ago. We launched on the Moonriver network. I think many of you heard the story that we're working for 4 sleepless days and that's how Moonsama was born. We wanted to beat everybody on the market who was launching anything on Moonriver network that just opened at that time, and we were successful with that. So we released the Moonsama NFT collection, and at the Moonsama marketplace where they were traded. We beat the competition to market nicely, and this opened our genesis. The community was formed, and that's how Moonsama came to be. Some people might remember the Samamu collection, which was a test collection. These were the first version of Moonsamas, which looked like these weird ant-looking creatures with even weirder heads. We still have kept some of them, and there's this test collection, probably the most exclusive one, but we will never sell these. It was just really funny that's how Moonsamas looked like the original. This was a quite short era, I would say, because then quickly came the need that we don't want to just become a simple JPEG project. I think the new era was kicked off when we tried to just create a Minecraft server where you could access with your NFTs and play. And that's how it all started, because then it brought up new challenges to solve. Okay, so first of all, how do you translate an NFT into a game? Like, how do you bring it into the game? What are the problems that you have to solve in terms of security? How do you prevent double spend? How do you check ownership? And so on and so on. And that's how, solving these problems, we realized that what we're doing here is we are solving a quite common problem in the Web3 space, because anybody who wants to do something with NFTs in the real world, or we can say provide utility for NFTs, so use them for something, needs to solve these problems. And that's how the Multiverse portal was born to be. Then we didn't want to make this relationship between NFTs and the game one-directional, so we wanted to do it the other way too. We wanted you able to bring stuff out from a game, and that's how we developed the resource economy. And in general, we started a lot of experiments, and these experiments were quite wide scale, large scale with the community. We developed a lot of minimum viable products or MVPs. We really we had some rapid pivotal moments, or migrated from one chain to the other. It was really important that we kept the community closely involved in all of this. And we didn't really focus on marketing out there at this point, because we're still in the experimentation phase. We needed to have a safe space to explore and figure out what is exactly bringing value to the holders or for the project, and what exactly is not. But one of our DNA is having fun. We are not only limited to gaming, because as I said, if you want to provide utility for an NFT or any kind of digital asset, like fungible token too, you need to make this connection between the Web 2 and Web 3 world, and you're solving a generic problem. Right, so this is just a word salad that you can look at, what were the many things that we built in this era. I don't wanna list them. This video is recorded. You can look into it yourselves. But it was really, we built a huge empire in the end with all these experiments. Right, and then came the next era, which is currently the present era that we are entering. So this present era is kind of kickstarted by us trying to get serious with everything that we do. So at this point, we did a lot of experiments, right? But also these experiments need to lead somewhere, and they need to lead to some kind of conclusion. We kind of managed to figure out how to do things, what things are not to do and avoid, what are the things that actually make sense and valuable, and could be valuable not only for us but for others too. Right. So in this era, we went through a kind of restructuring and reorganization, which you have seen in the beginning of my presentation. That was the currently formed new structure. And from this point on, with our new structure, we can focus a little bit more on growth and exploit what we have right now rather than explore what new things we can still build. Of course, everything that you build, you are responsible for it and you need to maintain. You need to make sure that they provide value. Otherwise, you're spreading yourself too thin, and in the end, you will be just a master of none. You have so many things going on. This is what we decided to do. Try to leverage what we have, include third parties, and start to think about scale and growth rather than exploring new stuff. Now, of course, experimentation and being bold is still part of our DNA and is super important in the space. So it doesn't mean that we're not gonna explore and start figuring new stuff out. It just means that we are taking a more focused approach from this point on. I'm going to talk about 3 essential ingredients of this era. One is the Multiverse Portals domain system, which is the super important piece of our tech stack to be successful in this era. Our metaverse, which acts as an open platform for community content. This is the other very important piece, and the third piece is a governance reform. Cool. You have seen this slide in Nautilus's presentation in Sub-Zero. So this is it's just a snapshot of our tech stack. So we have a utility layer, which are fundamental components and services to build stuff for applications, which are metaverses, games, the actual user-facing products that everybody is interfacing and using with. So we'd like to boost the creation of these kind of applications, games and metaverses, which not only built by us, but we want others to also build these things with using the utility layer, our stack, which kind of serves these apps. Cool. So the very important piece coming from the portal system, and this is going to be the foundation of everything, is the Multiverse Portals domain system. So first of all, let's define what is a domain, because you heard it. You heard me mentioning this many times now, but we never really deep dived into it. So domain is a virtual space. It has custom rules, management, governance, and economy. So you can think of a domain as some kind of digital kingdom, nation, or a country. Just to put it with the concrete examples that many of you can relate to, let's take the example of Carnage. Carnage can be a domain itself, because Carnage itself is a virtual space. It has its rules. You need a Moonsama NFT or Exosama NFT or a VIP ticket to enter the game. There are lock periods when your NFTs are locked in the portal, so you cannot double spend them. If you play Carnage, you have to accept the rules of cheating. If you're caught cheating, then a jury decides about your fate, and you might get punished. So it's a whole virtual kind of mini universe, right? And right now, if you log into the portal, there is only one domain that you see there, and one domain is being used, which is the Moonsama domain, like our own domain. But where it's going to change very soon is that Moonsama is going to be one domain, and anybody can set up a new one. So you can also set up your own virtual space with its own rules and what NFT goes into your domain, what do you accept there, what the NFT do you want to work with, what NFTs you do not want to work with. You will be able to define your own resource economy as well, and so on and so on. And the important thing is that you can develop apps, or you can attach apps onto your own domain. Which means that if you are building a game that uses Web3 assets or metaverse or any kind of app, you can use the domain system for this. Right. So the designs are already being made. As a user logging into the portal, you will not just see one import and export interface, but you will be able to browse a huge list of domains, like on a Amazon marketplace, for example. Moonsama will have its own domain, of course. For example, Public Pressure will be a domain, and you will be able to browse these domains. You can check what are their rules of joining, what NFTs they support, and for example, if you want to play the Beat Pressure game, you have to join the Public Pressure domain. You read the terms of conditions, and if you accept it, then from that point on, you gave permission for Public Pressure to include. It gives you permission to bring in your music NFT tracks and play it in Beat Pressure. I just wanted to say one concrete example. Also, the other way around, if you get any rewards from any of these domains that you join, so virtual spaces, you will be able to summon them, and all of these domains are managed by their community or their dedicated management entity. Right. So this is creating a domain. Or so let's say you have an NFT collection, you have a community, and you would really like to give some kind of utility for your NFTs. You want to join the Moonsama metaverse, create your own content in there. You can very easily set up your own domain in the portal. That will be probably the first essential step. It's going to be a software as a service model, so no coding required at all. So you simply go to the portal page, create an account, and you can create your own domain first. I mean, obviously it's going to have its own rules, but I'm just simplifying it. It will have an API for custom integration connected to your domain, but it's not necessary. And the idea is that you can manage a whole ecosystem through dashboards. As I said, what NFTs can go into your domain or out. Do you want to set up a resource economy or not? If you want to, you can very easily do with the clicks of a button. So you can also run games like Carnage. The player can get those resources out. You can have access to a crafting system, and so on and so on. You can do all these things that so far we were able to do. And of course, you define your own rules because it's your little kingdom. It has its own terms. It has its own terms and conditions, locking rules, rewards, how you resolve disputes, and so on. Right. And it's very important to mention that domains are not mutually exclusive. So there can be an infinite number of domains that support the same NFTs, for example. So if there are multiple projects that are building games that want to include Exosama NFTs, it doesn't mean that the user has to make a choice between those two domains. But you can be part of two domains. You can subscribe to them that use the same NFTs, and it just simply means that you import to the portal your Exosama only once, and then those two domains you give permission to those two particular games or apps to use your Exosama. I mean, provide utility for you for your Exosama, and it's all happening at the same time. You can enter both games, and depends on the game what your Exosama means in that game. Is it a playable character or a waifu pillow? It's completely up to the games how they build their interpretation on the same digital assets. So that's about the portal. I might point I might refer back to the port to the domain system from time to time because everything is kind of connected to it on what we're building. But let's talk about the metaverse itself. So I think we had this principle since the beginning that we don't want to build empty hangout rooms. We want active participants, and we want to have fun. And so far we're quite successful in doing so, and we see it as a comparative advantage compared to other metaverses that create these vast digital virtual spaces and raise a lot of money, but they don't really have those interesting things that make you want to be there every day or every week. So we see it as something to avoid and learn from those mistakes and do it better. Right, so this is our vision for the metaverse. First of all, we imagine it to be a collaborative social space. So we are a utility platform, right? Like a metaverse provider. And the metaverse itself is an essential piece of that. So we'd like to build a virtual space that is actually extendable by the community itself and not only by us. Because if we are the only ones be able to do it, then we are always be limited by our own team size and resources and capabilities. So we would like other communities to join in the fun and define and fill this metaverse with content itself. Now there are some essential pieces into this that I want to double click on. First of all, it is very difficult I would say very difficult, but it's not straightforward for any project to create in-game content, right? It requires skills, requires 3D artists and modeling and a lot of stuff that mainly game designers do, and it's quite resource intensive. So as part of our tech stack, we would like to provide the tooling and services to do it super easy for everybody, first of all. Second, we would like to infuse the metaverse with mechanics that make it interesting and fun, and we would like you guys or third parties to bring in these interesting mechanics into the metaverse. And this is how HEX came up with this idea of third-party scripting through an API, which we call electronics. So the metaverse itself have hooks, and you can run an external service or any kind of logic that you want to have. You run it as an external service or component, and you can attach it to the metaverse from the outside world, and this defines or determines like how certain things work for you. Of course, we'd like to base reward mechanics on activity and participation. We also like to create a huge collaborative resource economy, which is described also in the Git book, in HEX's Git book, which is like, if a community wants to take part in the shared resource economy, you need to raise and stake a certain portion of Sama, which allocates weekly rations of the resource economy for your community to create. So, just with an example, in the past years, you were playing Carnage and earning alpha or beta resources. We are thinking of giving other games or projects the right to introduce resources. So kind of like, let's say there's a third-party game represented by its community, and they get an allocation of 1,000 metaverse iron per week. So they can create a game, or they can introduce the mechanics into their game, which allows their community to earn in total like 1,000 metaverse islands. And if they want to increase this ratio, then they will need to provide, like allocate more of this production ratio for their community by, for example, staking more Sama, which they need to raise with their community. But of course, we would like any other project to also define their own resource economy. So it's completely up to these communities what is best for them. Yes, this is a nice clip created by Voxel. So again, customization of your avatars and models was always super important for us, that you can also do in the game for your characters based on the items that you own. Also, I think it's important to mention that in the metaverse you will be able to craft or upgrade items, cosmetics, furnitures, your own space, and we would like it to be based on Sama as well. One important thing to mention, which I think is really cool, it belongs to the previous slide, but is that again we want to avoid creating dead spaces, and that gave the idea, I mean, it was again a genius proposal by HEX, that community spaces actually move. So in every week, dependent on which space was visited the most, moves closer to the center. So to make sure that there is always activity, in the middle of a giant map, for example. And yeah, it's really important to keep activities alive. So this is Moonsama Metaverse will be a giant hub, so to say, and from which you can use as a starting point, as a jumping point to enter other external games if those communities want to. Now, of course, there are always technical limitations of implementing these infinitely expensive metaverses. So they will try to keep it as realistic, but as possible, but pushing it to its limits. These things actually going to be presented more in detail tomorrow. So I don't want to talk too much of the details. I will leave it to the team members. My presentation is supposed to be more high level. So, building a full-fledged metaverse and interesting mechanics, including fighting mechanics, tech, and art, requires a lot of steps and building blocks. It is not it takes many smaller steps to move forward. And what you see here right now, Breakout, is basically a product of those important steps that we need to make to get to our final destination. Developing the fighting mechanics was something super essential, and it's important to get it right. And that's how this little game came to be. It's a nice demonstration of the utility platform as well, and provides fun for the community, while we keep working on other things. Also, we have amazing AAA quality Exosama models, so gaming assets, which is really top notch. I think you guys have seen it on the videos. They're capable for anything. So we have a really talented team working on the gaming side now, and we are really happy with the progress that's being made. And all of what we're releasing today and tomorrow are important steps for building the final metaverse and supporting the vision. Right. So we talked about the portal domains as the technological enabler for communities to build with us and collaborate together. We've talked about the metaverse that provides all these communities and third parties an easy, streamlined way of providing utility for their holders in no time. And the third essential piece is governance. So we want to grow. We want to invite others. We want to work with others. And So, all these other projects have their own communities. And if they join us, and when they join us, they bring their own culture. They have their own needs. They have their own ideas and vision of what they want to build and what they want to be. This means that these communities need to be accommodated, and they act like a country. They have sovereignty. They have their own rules, as any country has for its citizens. But these communities still need to come together and collaborate. Therefore, it makes sense to create a two-layered governance. On one layer, on a local layer, we have the local communities with their own rules, and on the larger level, we need a unified, joint federal governance. So you can say that this would be the larger Moonsama governance itself. Right, because in practice, we're gonna have other projects building with us. They're gonna create multiverse domains. They're gonna create their own virtual space. These domains, virtual spaces, will have their own rules for joining and participating, distributing rewards. Of course, this is all optional, right? Like, they can do whatever. And punishments, if they have any locking rules, whatever. Users can take part in these communities or domains of their choice. Like, you shouldn't be forced to participate in anything that you don't agree with, and you should be able to leave anytime. But, as part of a daily life, there can be situations when there are disputes, there are disagreements, and then you need a kind of a higher level body that ensures that everybody is treated fairly. For example, again, the example of the carnage sessions of every Sunday, some of you might remember that we caught cheaters, I think, on 2 or 3 occasions. And in that case, so first of all, there was a Moonsama police that was formed to monitor the game for cheaters, and if they caught a cheater, then basically there was a complete metaverse trial for deciding whether whether the cheater should be punished and how it should be punished, and what is the severance of the punishment. And in case there are issues that cannot be resolved in a local level, then this issue is raised up to the larger Moonsama federal governance, which is also composed of all the local communities as well, and then a decision is made on a higher level. Later also, the federal governance, so the larger Moonsama community, will vet new entrants, so other new joining communities. Right now, we still will be in a pilot phase, so of course, we don't want to straight away put up a giant, walls and barriers of entries to use our tech stack, for example. So we will, try to take into account common sense and come to a judgment what's the best for us to grow and experiment first. But yes, this is something that we think is very important for joining communities. Right, so in this era, like, these are the 3 main important ingredients that I found. We're gonna bake third-party participation into every plan, or take it into account, so something how could be used by others as well, not only by us. How could we create value together, in that third parties create value for themselves, but also we create value by providing value for others. We see interoperability as a very big enabler for creating utility and unite everybody through the Moonsama metaverse. So as I said, multiple projects can provide utility for the same NFT. So the more collaboration you foster inside the ecosystem, the more value or utility token holders enjoy. And this needs a level of organization and tools that we would like to provide. So again, you remember this little strategy segment of the presentation. I kind of just mapped it back to that slide. So on the talked about governance being something like a NATO or United Nations. So communities with layered governance. There are local communities with their own sovereignty, and a larger overarching Moonsama governance body, which promotes and uses and fosters a technology stack mainly built on this domain system, various tools and services that are used to create cool apps, metaverses, games, digital experiences. It supplies these virtual spaces with content and fun, which in return fosters again this community of communities and makes them grow. And this is the goal of this current era, which is mainly about platformization and utility. Right, so now we move into the future. So the future begins, so this is like the next era that comes after this one. I think it's going to be opened when the technology stack or the metaverse is more or less ready and settled, as in there are minimal barriers to entry for third parties or other communities. Everything works like on an assembly line, streamlined. You know, as a core team, we don't need to put that much effort in building foundational, critical based infrastructure and tools. So it means that in this era, we can focus more on, supporting other builders instead of, innovating tech ourselves. At this stage, we will see a maturation of governance, which means because there are so many other projects and communities building with us or joining, this governance is going to be defined through that experience. It's very hard to tell it right now how governance should be when there are 100 communities with us. Like, who knows? We always had the approach of having tight feedback loops and fine-tuning everything as it evolves. And at this stage, we can just focus on creating cool metaverse experiences, fun games, more than infrastructure. So let's see when it actually happens. But this is an era when we see mass adoption happening really, and we're gonna see like a boom of users and other projects joining, and it's gonna grow, and it's gonna bring, of course, those kind of challenges that come with rapid scaling. So it's very difficult to see what's gonna be the future always. I was always myself a very practical guy. As I said, like I like beautiful visions, but I was always looking at them a little bit skeptically. Like I want to know how can I get there and what can I do today to get there. But let's say the metaverse is amazing. It evolves on its own. The tech stack is ready. Then the next step is a period. So at this age already, all the issues are worked out, and we can focus on eliminating all central points. So, us as the core team in the evolution of this whole ecosystem, which meant to be in the end a fully decentralized, autonomous ecosystem, we still had to take a central role of the undertaker, and act as the stewards of the ecosystem, make sure the services are running, provided, and they are maintained. We take care of the development. But at this point, we're gonna slowly. So at this era, we're gonna slowly arrive at a point where us as the core team, hopefully, we become obsolete. So the goal is that at this stage, everything is fully autonomous and self-governing. We don't need to be there at this point, holding everybody's hand. because everything is run and maintained by the community and decentralized service providers. This is an age of like an utopistic age of virtual prosperity, and I hate to mention the Ready Player One. I don't know if you guys seen that movie, because everybody mentions it. It talks about metaverse, and it just a little bit cringy now. But this is what we are still converging to in a future scenario. Focuses on still creating content, culture. There are true digital nations living there, and at this point, the core team just gonna dissolve into the community, or we just become like one of the decentralized service providers or contributors, but as same as anybody else. So in the end, for creating any kind of decentralized system, you have centralized control in the beginning, which is super essential, and you slowly make yourself, how I would say, obsolete as a centralized entity. And in the golden age, this is where we arrive at. So what comes after the golden age? As I said, it's not going to be decided by the core team. It's going to be decided by all of you, or I would say all of us. I still want to be there and will be there, but as a member of the community at this point. So yeah, let's see what comes next. Right. Okay. So we have 2 more slides left. We almost finished. One thing I wanted to talk about or address again is the parachain situation. So yeah, now the discussion of the eras of our past and the present and the future is mentioned. I hope it was insightful. I wanted to show that even though we embrace chaos and our motto is expect chaos, there is still a trajectory for Moonsama, and there are still clearly identifiable cycles or eras. We were just entering from one era to another, which always causes some confusion, or even I would say turbulent times, which is not difficult to have in the bear market. Still, compared to other teams or other projects, we have it really easy, I would say. But this changing of eras always comes with changes as well in the project. So anyway, back to the parachain topic. It was again mentioned in a lot of team calls now. We have a parachain slot, which currently we are not. We are actually using it. So we have a parachain developed already, but it's just put on pause. It's sitting there, but we haven't given access to the public to the parachain. But you can see that it produces blocks and everything is there. We are still waiting for some regulatory clearance around the Sama token, and I just want to make sure that everything is okay from that side before cementing Sama as a native token of yet another chain. I see it as my responsibility, because we would like to be here next year and the year after it and so on, and that could only be done if we are operating in the green. Yeah, I know this question was asked many times. I cannot give a timeline yet when it's gonna come back, but don't worry, like nothing's gonna stop on our side. We are still on Exosama network and we'll continue to use it. First of all, for crowd loan rewards, I know that some people contributed to the crowd loan, for which Sama token distribution was promised. We're gonna implement it on Exosama network, so you're gonna have access to your rewards as promised, but on Exosama network for now. I think it's very important to honor our commitments. Right, staking is coming. We don't need the parachain for that actually, so it's not stopping it in its tracks. We have a program for community Sama staking for community issued rewards, which actually is a super important piece again of the domain system of the Multiverse portal that is coming. So you're not only staking is going to be another thing that you can manage through the portal. Sama can be used for crafting and upgrades of various items in the metaverse and games. And of course, Sama can be used for granting access to specific places, also in the metaverse and outside in various activities and events. So, I just wanted to say that nothing is abandoned or stopped just because the parachain is not there yet. But actually, while we wait for the parachain, now I had a really cool idea actually what we could do, which details I'm gonna share later, but first I want to run it through the team, make sure that they are on board with this idea. But while we are waiting for lawyers, it doesn't mean that it stops the fun. Whomever I shared my idea with already, they all liked it. So let's see what the team's response is, and then I can share you what that idea is. But it's gonna be something fun. Also gonna provide some extra utility for the Sama token and the NFTs. So yeah, let's stay tuned for that. Again, I don't want to over-promise anything. We try to grow out of this habit of setting too high expectations and deadlines and then shooting ourselves in the foot. So yeah, details are shared when things are actually ready. So this is the last slide now. Just wanted to recap our continued focus. So we're focusing on becoming a premier utility provider and or metaverse provider. We built a lot of experience, a lot of tools, products, and services in doing so, and we are in a really strong position to leverage all this to grow and provide utility for everybody and value for us and everybody. We focus on ecosystem expansion and partnerships because we would like to grow and see it as a way of scaling. It's very difficult to do it only alone, right? We are dedicated to crafting the metaverse and create something really unique and successful, not only an empty hangout room, but we would like it to be fun and we would like to reward active participation. We are fostering a network state, I would call like a United Nations of communities. And of course, we should never forget that in the beginning, or since the beginning, we like to have fun and enjoy ourselves, what we are building, and we should never forget to stay playful. And this concludes my presentation. I really hope that my long presentation, it almost took 1.5 hours. It was insightful for you guys and then answered many of your questions. If you had any doubts of what we were or what was our trajectory, I hope you now managed to understand it. Also what we are planning to do and how we are planning to do it, what is the importance of certain things. As I mentioned, and every week, every Monday, as the core team, we are present in a Discord call, which you can join and talk to us, ask questions. This presentation was recorded as well, so you can watch it back, hopefully, and use it as some kind of reference point in the future. And I hope you guys enjoyed the reveal so far and keep enjoy the ones that are coming. Tomorrow you're gonna hear Voxel speaking and giving more in-depth presentation of our gaming sides and can give you guys some demo too, I believe. Yeah, happy second anniversary, guys. It's a celebration not only for us but for the whole ecosystem, and I'm really looking forward to play 24-hour Carnage with all of you. Yeah, thank you guys for being here, and see you in the chat.